Good morning, Port St. Lucie. Welcome back to another episode of PSL Daily Download, your first stop to all things real estate in Port St. Lucie. Today we have a lot to talk about, to say the least. We're going to be looking at the market. We're going to be looking at inventory. Actually, I'm going to wrap up July, put a bow on that, and kind of show you some trends that I noticed. I'm also going to talk about interest rates, how interest rates are being affected, and again, I appreciate you joining with me. I'll probably ask you at the end of this video, but I'm going to ask you now before I forget. If you watch this video, if you're here watching, I would appreciate if you could maybe click a little like and subscribe. I am trying to grow the channel, so I appreciate you again for doing so. All right, so let's dive in. Before we look at the market, all right, I want to put July in a bow and kind of show you guys what I saw and what I noticed some changes. So let's look at inventory. So let me take a step back. As I've said, going into home buying season, which is a spring home buying season, um, it- no matter the environment, this is the time of the year where inventory comes down. And it's happened basically every year that I know of, and maybe I've missed one here or there. But even during the Great Recession, during 2008, 9, 10, during those times of the years, regardless of the environment, um, inventory drops. Okay, so we're just coming off of that. We're starting to wind that down. We're probably, I would say 80, 90% wound down from that the season. So maybe we'll have the rest of this month, maybe going to September, some stragglers, but really with school starting, especially in St. Lucie County, in the middle of the month here, over actually a week from now for the county, and I think private schools, things like that, maybe a week after that. But for the most part, whoever was looking to purchase, which is usually the reason why inventory comes down, people are trying to get their kids in. They're trying to, get their family in the home before their kids have to go back to school. So obviously that's around the corner. So um, maybe we'll see some stragglers, but for the most part, whoever was going to buy probably already bought. Either they already closed or they're about to. So I won't be surprised if inventory drops between now and the finishing touches on that home buying season. So, all right, so let's look at July 1st through the end of the month, and then we'll kind of go over the percentages. So we started the month of July at 2417. Again, this is inventory, homes for sale, and that excludes land, vacant land, and anything under contract, right? Pending, contingent, so it's basically just single family homes, condos, manufactured homes, things like that. So, all right. So we started the inventory at 2417. We ended the month at 2364, a median of 2381, and we were down 2%. So again, normal. Homes listed under 375, which I don't know if I should change this because homes are now well above 375 for the most part. So I might actually increase this to about 425, 450. I don't know. We'll see. But homes under 375 started at 574. They ended up 553. So they actually went down 3.66%. And actually, let me go to the next one and I'll kind of wrap up what I was going to say on that. And then homes above 375 started at 1831 and ended up at 1799. And that was down 1.75. So what I was going to say was the rate of these homes coming down is obviously faster than homes above 375, only because obviously the affordability. A lot of people that come to Port St. Lucie, they want to be able to live comfortably, in the sense of financially, right? Not over finance, over purchase a home, or pay too much for a home. Let's say that they can't afford. So, especially with our surrounding areas like Orlando, Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade County, where homes are obviously higher priced than the Treasure Coast homes. All right. So, number of currently reduced homes, we started at 596. We ended up at 635 again. That's basically, just like inventory coming down is I would say a symptom or of of the market, right? Of people, what I was saying, people coming in to purchase homes for the season. That's the result of that. I don't know if symptom, but that's a result. Um, the increase in reduced prices from 596 to 635, in my opinion, that is also a result, but this is a result of people having to sell, and they're basically, they're starting higher. Maybe they're pricing the home as, they're listing the home high, and then they're gradually having to come down because they're not selling. It's not the same environment as it was in 2021, where people were just flat out paying more for the house. So it definitely a different environment. So we are seeing those numbers come down. And I think that's the result of that, right? And then obviously we increased from 596 to 635, which is an increase of almost, actually a little above 6.5%, which I'm going to get back to that in a second here when I get into August's numbers, where we're starting off. Homes that were listed for rent, we started at 499 and we ended up at 498. So, outside of one, really no change at all on the homes. And again, these are homes that are on realtor.com, which is where I get all my information from. And that shows the number of homes, single family homes, condos that people have purchased at some point and are now listing it for sale. Now, the reason why that is important is because sometimes whenever this number increases for the rent, we'll see the numbers come off the list bucket. Okay, because maybe they were trying to sell, they're not able to sell it for whatever reason or get the money that they wanted to send. So then they're like, their alternative is, instead of selling it at a loss or less money, they're putting it to rent and then hopefully let it cash flow. So, all right. And actually, this is my coffee mug, and it's actually my favorite coffee mug I've ever had. I've had this thing for probably 20 years. I actually have four of them, three now. I think one broke, but um, it's just perfect. I don't know why, but anyway, I finally got it off the top of the cupboard there, and I'm using it again. All right. So let's go to August numbers, where we're at till now. 2343, which it's down a little bit already for the month. And again, compared to last month, we ended up at 2381, 2340. So a little bit of a drop there. Um, Not a lot of movement, again, just because it's the beginning of the month. But what I did want to touch on the reduced homes. So again, it's not a big drop, 0.94, but if you really stretch this out from the beginning, again, going back to July, and we could even go back to June. Actually, June was actually up, so it actually came down. But at the in during July, if you look at the numbers, our median was 587, and we started at 596. From 596 to 644, that's an increase of what, maybe about 50 or so. So when it's only 600 and something, that's a big chunk. It's about 10%, give or take. So I would say that's that pressure there to reduce the prices increasing. And as we wind down the home buying season, the spring home buying season, and go into the late months of summer, September, and then obviously the fall, I think that's where we're going to start seeing the bigger um, bigger change in numbers, both actual numbers and percentage wise. So we'll keep an eye on that, but I would expect that to happen. Again, that is normal, right? That is normal because less people are looking to purchase. So the sellers, especially those that are pressured to sell, are motivated for whatever reason, because maybe they're buying a home or they're moving, or whatever the case may be, they have to sell. So they're motivated to drop the price. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then homes listed for rent, we're at 495. We start again, not a lot of movement, especially at the beginning of the month. There's usually not um, big movement. So we'll keep an eye on it. But again, if I was a betting man, I would expect, generally speaking, inventories to start picking up, maybe get to that 2400 again, and then also see a reduction as that increases. It's going to put pressure on people to lower the listing price of their home for those that are selling. So, all right, now moving on here, let's go to the market because this is really where everybody's focus is on today. And if I could actually find my mouse, there it is. All right, so we are on CNBC's U.S. Market Watch here. That's a lot. Those are big numbers. So if I remember correctly, I think we're down like 500 points Thursday, 600 points on the Dow. I'm speaking about here, and now we're down 886, which actually that was above, slightly above 1100. So there's definitely a lot of movement. Um, Japan's Nikkei market that tumbled, and there's other Asian markets that have also, I think, the Philippines, one of those. So, um, but there's just a lot of volatility. Again, there's a lot of things that are moving this. The trade between the yen and the dollar, and bonds, that is one of the major factors. Also, again, going back to last week, the unemployment report that came in lower than expected. Unemployment increasing from, I think, again, 4.1 to 4.3, if I'm not mistaken. So just a lot of volatility, and people are repricing, right? People are obviously uh, reducing their risk, and we'll see where it ends. But from the commentary I'm watching, a lot of people expected these big numbers at the beginning, and they said, they expect maybe for it to improve throughout the day and get closer to maybe even or slightly lower. We'll see. We'll see. I have no idea. But if that's the trend, we're actually going into the right direction because again, it was at 1100 earlier this morning, and it's now down just 773 points. U.S. 10-year Treasury yield. This was also down. I think it was 3 basis points, so 0.003. It is now up half. Is that considered half a basis point? Yeah. So yeah, 0.005, half a basis point. Okay. So, and again, it's basically at even for the most part. So I haven't tracked mortgage rates this morning, but I expect them to come in right at about where we ended up, yeah, on Friday. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. There were a lot of lenders that were kind of waiting. I touched on the last video about this. A lot of lenders that were waiting to kind of jump on the bandwagon of the lower rates. I noticed sometimes it has to do with their rate sheet. They weren't able to update it. Sometimes they're not able to update it fast enough. So a lot of lenders, probably capped out on the low end. Um, where maybe the client couldn't buy a point or 2 points because that was the lowest on the rate sheet. So if you're in mortgages, you know what I mean. If you're not, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But just I would expect as the day, the week, couple weeks go by, if the rates stay the same or decrease, we're gonna most likely see across the board a more uniform lower rate. Only because those lenders that weren't able to price it lower will now start adjusting to that. So sorry if I lost you on that, but just want to make sure I touched on that. And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on is the VIX. I've talked about this a couple times, the volatility. So that is up 47%, basically 46.99. So that I'm going to click on this because I saw it this morning. Actually, it was a lot higher this morning, believe it or not. So, but check this out. There's a volatility index. Let's go back 5 years. And basically outside of the you know, middle part and part of 2020, it was until the pandemic that it's actually been this high. There was a big jump. Again, right here, you could see, oh, look at that. I'm not even sharing this with you guys. Sorry. There we go. That's probably better. Okay. So it just went from here 12.44 to 34.51 or 34.73 up here. So we could see where it really shot up. I don't know if it was overnight, but since Friday or Thursday. And it's really, I mean, we had a spike here where it kind of hit it October of 2020. But really, before that, it was during the pandemic, and again, before that, nothing. So this is, it has meaning, right? That means the market is volatile. Whatever components they use to come up with this index, there's a lot of volatility in the market. So obviously, but unless that comes down, oh, look at that. What do you think about that headline? Let's check it out. Europe stocks closed 2.2 lower amid global downturn as volatility index spikes. Look at that. They must have been either I cheated and I saw that, or they cheated and they're watching my video. I don't know. They're probably watching our video. Anyway, um, so yeah, there's a lot of volatility in the market. So I don't, again, I'm not an expert in the market. I have no idea where it's gonna go, but these things sometimes play out for a little bit, right? And it being an election year, it's still summer, so we're really only 3 days into this correction. So I don't know if it's something that's going to correct itself and we're back to normal here in the next few days or weeks, or if this is a prolonged downturn, which um, you know, if that happens, obviously it would, this would actually be uglier than it is. One thing I wanted to touch on here before, because I've talked about this in the past, but as silly as it is, I've never actually shared this part, I don't believe, right here. Um, and I'm going to do this before we get into the rates as of uh, close of date on Friday. So this here's a treasury yield, and we've talked about the inverted yield curve. And basically, what it is, it's combining these, like the 1 month versus a 10 year, or 3 month versus a 10 year, or 6 month against a 30 year, whatever that combination is that the indexes are tracking to compare. But so um, rates basically are the shorter term rates, generally speaking, in a normal world, are lower than, let's say, a 30-year rate. Why? Because it's short term. There's a lot of information to be known um, of what might come over the next month or 3 months, let's say, on these small, shorter yields, versus 30 years where nobody really knows what's going to happen in the next 30 years. So those um, bonds are higher risk, right? The yield curve uh, on the 30-year, the rates go up because really the risk is a lot higher. A lot of things could happen in the next 30 years and so on. So what I wanted to share was, this is a good visual of just seeing all of them and kind of what that inverted yield curve actually means. So again, we're going to start with let's start at the 1 month, right? So this, generally speaking, should be the least riskiest uh, bond, right? Or note. It's at 5.342 currently. Going out to 3 months, which again, it should increase the yield. It doesn't. It actually decreases. So it's inverted. Going out 6 months, 4.885. Again, it should be higher than the 3 month, but it's not. It's lower. Going out to the 1 year, look at that, even lower. And so on and so forth. So, and then you have the 30-year at 4.08. So it actually increases that far out on the yield curve. But um, when, so this is what basically is considered, where it's inverted, right? The short terms are higher, are paying out, you're making more money on the short term than the long term, which should generally, in a normal world, pay more because the risk is higher. You should be rewarded for that risk, but it's not. Um, so what's going to happen when the Fed finally starts dropping rates, which I personally expect in September at the earliest? unless something in the market pops up, like maybe this trade with the yen and all, or something where something is breaking, and then they would have to do like an emergency rate cut, which wouldn't be the first time they've done it. They did it during the pandemic, they did it in 2008 and all that stuff. So, or 2009, whenever that was. And I think they also did it in 2018 at the end of the year. So, um, unless that happens, or when that happens, let me just say, that short term, because that's the ones that they actually control, is the short terms, that 3 to maybe 2 years. Once they start dropping those rates, these yields will start dropping faster than those 30-year rates. Okay, again, in a normal world, anything could happen. But if that happens, then the rates start reinverting, meaning going back to normal. They're inverted right now, they'll start reinverting back to normal. When that reinversion happens, the more that they start reinverting, the higher the probability is that we are in a recession. Okay. Again, will it mean that we definitely are? No. But again, just going back on previous times that this has happened, whenever they start reinverting, or the majority of these start reinverting back to normal, that means that the economy has kind of dipped into a recession. Some light, kind of vanilla recessions, or some, obviously, some really tough ones that we've gone through, like the depression and the Great Recession and the tech bubble. So, but this is something, if you want to kind of keep an eye on it, this is an easy way, again, on NBC's Market Watch. So you could keep an eye out for that and kind of see once they start reinverting. So, all right, but I did want to share that. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you want to talk about it, give me a call. I love talking about this stuff. So even though sometimes I'm still learning, so maybe you could teach me something. All right, let's go to something I know a little bit more about, mortgage rates. So we are on Mortgage News Daily's daily rate survey. Okay. And we'll see where they ended up on Friday. And again, I don't expect a big change as of today, as of right now, let me say, because the market's nuts and we could end up high or low on this. But they ended the day on Friday with a 30-year fix at 6.4. It wasn't too long ago that we were at 7.91. That's a lot. That's a big drop. So, are rates low compared to the price of homes? No, right? But they're getting better. So hopefully, with the rate drops coming in the picture, maybe this market kind of causes the yields to come down. We'll see better interest rates in the near and short and long term future here. So they ended up at 6.4, which is down 0.22%. They had the 30-year FHA fixed rate at 6.10, and that was down 0.03. Not a big change on the FHA. So, and usually, um, something that I've seen, and I don't see it here, and actually this is the first time I'm catching it live here with you guys, but usually the 30-year FHA rate is substantially lower than the fixed rate, the conventional. Not a big difference, zero point 0.3. So I'll probably look at that a little bit more, and if I see any big changes on that, I'll bring it to your guys' attention. But it looks like that's squeezing. So where a lot of clients maybe, went FHA because of that lower rate, um, maybe, it makes more sense, or there's more sense to be made if they go for the convention at this point. So again, other factors, obviously the rate, if they're putting less than the 30%, the 20% down, what the PMI or MIP is, the payment, and the rest of the terms. But I could see that compressing the difference there. So, all right. Other than that, I don't have any more to cover. I think the video is long enough. I'm running at about 25 minutes almost. So, other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, watching the video. And if you did, please don't forget to click that like button right over there, that subscribe button right over here, and that little bell icon right. That's it. So, other than that, I appreciate you. Thanks for joining, and I will see you guys tomorrow.